How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys, Alex and Ryan. Today we're discussing Junior Fernandez. Now, the Yankees just plucked this guy, stole him off waivers, off the Pittsburgh Pirates. We just lost Steven Ridings to the New York Mets, a flamethrower, hard thrower. And Junior Fernandez is an interesting player, interesting pitcher. This is the type of guy, in my opinion, the Yankees go and they find ways to extrapolate on someone like his talents, and they find ways to get actual good production and value out of it. Now he's much more of a velocity guy than a location guy. We're going to talk about his pitch repertoire, why he actually could be something decent for this bullpen, and they just claimed him off waivers healthy. So Steven Ridings was going through chronic injury issues last 2 seasons really. And this guy at least is healthy, and we know he's going to make a contribution. At least if he can crack the roster. So he'll get an opportunity during spring training, I imagine, to work his way into the roster. It gives me heavy Albert Abreu vibes, just with the way he throws in terms of just velocity, over control at times. But, that talent is there. And if Matt Blake, given he stays here, manages to get his hands on him and really, maybe tweak some of his fundamentals, I feel like Junior Fernandez could be a pretty decent pitcher for us, Ryan. So, when you're looking at this guy, I know we discussed a little bit yesterday what he has and what he can do. How do you think he can make an impact with this Yankee team? And how are you doing this morning, my friend?
I'm doing great. I look at Junior Fernandez, as you mentioned with Albert Abreu. I think it's a pretty good comparison. I know a lot of people are going to immediately think Pittsburgh guy who throws hard and happens to have a sinker, boom, Clay Holmes. But I want to remind people, you got to temper your expectations. A couple things to note about Fernandez is that Holmes' stuff, like in terms of just movement, all that was already far more advanced than what Fernandez is at right now. Fernandez does throw ridiculously hard, harder than Holmes did. But the difference is, velocity is great, but you also need to have a decent movement profile as well. And that's where Fernandez really does lack. He doesn't have any high spin pitches. None of his pitches really generate a ton of movement. His four-seamer is a pitch I think is probably his best pitch. And, their stuff plus models do agree with that. They rank that as his best pitch at a 134.8 stuff plus, which is remarkable. I mean, that's a really good number for a pitcher who, quite frankly, the Yankees are getting for nothing, right? Worst case, I mean, the most likely scenario is he's an afterthought. The Yankees, kind of just rostered him because they could. They didn't get much out of it. Whatever, you can live with that. It's a waiver claim. I mean, it's really a move that shouldn't have long-term consequences negatively for the Yankees. I don't know how his slider is going to be worked in New York. There needs to be a change there. That's all I know. There has to be a change there. I do think horizontally, sure, it doesn't get a lot of movement, but I think that's fine. I think they can live with that, especially considering his sinker doesn't have a lot of run either. Perhaps, you're thinking more of a north-south profile, perhaps getting a little more drop on his slider, making it a true gyro slider, which is, think like Luis Castillo, Albert Abreu, who you just mentioned, where their sliders, you don't really see that left to right movement. It's more of that north-south, up-down movement. That could definitely fit Fernandez's profile a lot better. The velocity's there, which means that when you're tinkering movement profiles, even if he loses a tick on his fastball, but the movement's a lot better and his stuff is still going to be elite. So, I think the basis to work with here is great. The Yankees have a good foundation for a pitcher to work on. This is the type of pitcher you take a risk on. As you mentioned, he's healthy, right? It's exciting to have a healthy young arm like this. He's 25 years old. He'll be 26 in April, I believe, if I'm not March, excuse me. But worst case scenario, he struggles in spring training. The movement isn't changed. The Yankees don't really see much of a progression there, or the progression or change they do see isn't a positive change. They'll just let him go, and they don't have to worry about any salary implications or any penalties that are really worth noting. Another team could just pick him up. And if the Yankees pass on him, that kind of is a death sentence for a pitcher's career. The Yankees, as much as we can get on them, do know how to work with pitchers. So I'd be shocked if Fernandez were to come to the organization, not figure it out, and then figure it out somewhere else. I think if he does figure it out, it'll be in New York. And that's kind of crazy to say considering New York is a high pressure environment, but the talent is definitely there. It'll be interesting to see if the Yankees going to lock it though.
Yeah, and I think the Yankees are pretty good at unlocking, the hidden talent in pitchers. As you said, his profile kind of fits what the Yankees try to do: heavy sinker, heavy slider. You even mentioned the idea of maybe incorporating more of his fastball, just a four-seam fastball. So, this is an interesting guy. He's not, like you said, if he doesn't pan out, it's not a big deal. But if he pans out, you have yourself a really nice low-key piece. And I think that ultimately going with the healthy, between him and Steven Ridings, Ridings has pretty good stuff, but like, can you even trust him to get on the mound? That's, the risk you're willing to take with him. And, Junior Fernandez, 25 years old, super, super young, plenty of room to grow. This is a good guy, 6'3", 215. He has good size too. Fastball velocities in the 98th percentile. You're looking at a guy that's he's throwing hard, right? He's throwing that sinker really hard. Which he throws almost 99 miles an hour on average, generated a .282 batting average last year. So 282 rather, sorry. Batting average with only a 14% whiff rate and 20% put away rate, but weak contact generated. And it really has some good velocity on his slider too. So, this is someone that Matt Blake turns into a serviceable pitcher, right? This is somebody that the Yankees get their paws on and suddenly they're contributing on an actual level. I mean, think about it. Albert Abreu was tossed from the Yankees to Minnesota, or rather to Texas in the Jose Trevino trade. He ends up then with the Royals and then back with the Yankees. And I think his numbers with the Yankees were some of the best he had all season long. It just doesn't even make sense how they suddenly get better production out of some of these guys specifically. But last year, he had a 3.12 ERA with Texas over 8.2 innings, 4.15 with the Royals over 4.1 innings, and then 3.16 with the Yankees over 25.2 innings. He was so much better with the Yankees, wasn't even close. Which is interesting. XFIP dropped from 6.73 to 3.12. So, you're looking at a player who, some of these guys are just different. I feel like pitchers specifically are like this. I feel like hitters sometimes are a lot harder to mold in Yankee Stadium, or rather just to be a Yankee. Pitching, I feel like we do a really good job. Pitchers come in here and make an impact immediately. Hitters are a big hit or miss, looking at Joey Gallo and some of those guys that we hope to make an impact. But, Junior Fernandez is an intriguing player, guys. I think that he could end up being something pretty nice and contributing next season at the very least. So hopefully he can, rise to the occasion, make something out of nothing. But I'd love to hear your perspectives below in the YouTube comments. As always, my friends, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Make sure to subscribe as always. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.